Hey everyone, it's your boy Doc Williams, and today we're going to be talking about how to build an app for your brand. We have a special guest star in house, so come with me. Again, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time. This is another Build With Me episode, and we have the pleasure to be with a great person in the no-code space, and we're going to be bringing him up. Erik, how are we doing today, man?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing good. And thank you so much for taking the time, for being here. You're awesome. So for the good people that don't know at home, tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are.
Absolutely. So I'm the founder and I guess CEO of Flywheel Studio. We build enterprise grade no code and low code applications, primarily almost 100% focused on mobile. We are a remote first team. We've got employees around the world. Do quite a bit of traveling myself, and our employees and team members do as well. We work across a pretty wide variety of industries and across different platforms. So really excited to be here and help share what knowledge we have.
Good times. Love it. So for you, if you're watching live, make sure in the comment section down below, let us know, what are you building? Are you building an app for your side hustle? Are you starting a startup and you need a mobile application? Tell us in the comments. And if you're watching on replay, just do #replay. Let us know what's going on. So Erik, you were talking about that's what you do. You're the CEO of your agency and building these kind of apps. Tell me where you began. What got you interested in no code and all those things?
Yeah, absolutely. We started, I guess, just as my background, I started in consulting about 8 years ago now. I was in Big Four in the US. I did Big Four in boutique consulting over in Asia, worked in financial services. We saw about 4 years ago the introduction to kind of like low code, no code with really strong capabilities. I firmly believe like the original no code is like WordPress. It's been around for, you know, 15 years now. It's not something new, but before it was really like, okay, you can make informational sites and blogs. We started seeing things come out with, kind of that workflow capability, data processing, data storage, complex actions. And we saw it coming out for enterprises, but we knew that there was all of these little startups coming out that were, you could see that on the path that they were going, the trajectory they were going, that they were going to be delivering some awesome stuff. And the first kind of few that we started with were, Webflow, Bubble, and Adalo. I'm a huge mobile app fan. I think that mobile is, one of the biggest things in the future. So we started building apps on Adalo very quickly. We were, we were there before there was even a Adalo expert program almost. And so we really grew with that platform, started taking clients. I think pretty quickly we became, one of the top. I'm not going to ever say that we're number one on anything, but we were definitely top three. In the Adalo Experts program, and since then we've only expanded as we've added on our own kind of capabilities and team members to help us, kind of have a stronger service offering for our clients.
Love it, love it, love it. That's so you have a wide spectrum of different platforms. We're going to be talking about that all today. We've got some that are coming in, and I think I'm saying, Rima, maybe I'm saying it wrong. I apologize, but we want to welcome you. And you mentioned I'm building an app for my side hustle. So thank you so much for watching. And remember, in the comment section down below, let us know what you're building. And if you want to talk more about your side hustle, the type of app you're trying to build, let us know. We'll talk about it. So that's really interesting. You were talking about you started with using different things from Adalo, and then you moved on from to Flutter Flow. Did you teach yourself? Did you start getting a mentor? Tell me how you started getting good at it, or just started building and just found your way around it.
Adalo I would say 80% of it was time, effort, and just practice. We were playing around on this all hours of the day, building our own applications. That's how we got started. If you For anyone who hasn't built an agency before, you have a chicken and the egg problem where you're trying to get clients, they want to see your work, you don't have clients, so you don't have any work. The easiest way to get past that is to get into building an app for yourself, and then you can say, hey, we built this, show them what it looks like, and at least they can see the work that you do. So we learned a ton on that, and Adalo has an amazing community of experts. We help each other out behind the scenes. There's a few Adalo expert forums and things that aren't quite open to the public, but we help each other out all the time on there. And so we've tried to take that and given back. We have a YouTube channel with Adalo stuff. There's other experts out there who have done some great content, and that we're just building off of each other. When we went to Flutterflow, that's kind of a whole different skill set. You really it takes some of the aspects of no code, and you still need to know database design. You still need to have that broader app picture in your mind, understanding UI UX. But there was a technical component that I just didn't have. That's when we started building a team around it. So we have experts, who have a lot of experience in Flutter, doing a lot of design, and we have back-end engineers now as well to support that.
Love it, love it, love it. I totally agree with you with Adalo. I think you just got to start building in it, and I think it's pretty. I actually think some of the even when I'm not building with Adalo, I tell people to check out their documentation, especially like relations, because I think it's some of the best in the game that made sense to me. Because I struggled with relations and what that meant, and like how to set that up. So I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of that. By the way, Erik, I need your YouTube link. We'll link it in the description down below so people can check out your channel, all of those things.
Absolutely.
And two, just so everyone knows as well, we do have some. Now, I will say we are not an expert. My tutorials for Adalo has always been to get started, start experimenting with it, and then if you need help, figure it out or go to Adalo forums or talk to an expert with Adalo. So ours is a lot more basics, beginners, and just making sure you understand if this is the first time you're building with no code, the orientation when you first get into the platform so you don't get overwhelmed. Sometimes it's very easy to be like, this looks so basic, but sometimes if this is the first time you've been building, it just feels overwhelming, too many options, and then you'll just never go back. So let me give me a taste of like, what did you build in Adalo? What did you like building? Was it mock-ups? Was it a very specific like basic app? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, the first apps that we were always building were for ourselves, and to be honest, we still do that. So the first one was just fitness apps. We would find workout plans online that were like in PDFs. And so then we'd make an app for it, and it's free online, just to kind of to give back, build our own skill sets and all that. I love building anything on Adalo. It is fun. It is easy. If you have never built a mobile app, it is absolutely the place to start. I think that you'll have a great time. And so many of the things, there are platform specific things, but so many of the ideas and concepts are going to be true across whatever you use, whether it's Adalo, DraftBit, Flutterflow, Dunkable, a lot of those, database design things, lists, passing parameters, all of those are going to be the same. So you can take that anywhere. The best thing though that you're going to get is that when you're testing something and you're using it and you're saying to yourself, wow, I really wish my app could do X, Y, and Z. In Adalo, you can do that in the course of 24 hours. You can have a whole new app version out with all of those features, and that's too cool. I've worked in big tech before with where you have simple change requests that take 6 months to change a screen or add a function. In Adalo, you're doing that in hours and minutes, and you have a new version out.
Love it. And by the way, this stream is sponsored not by Adalo. This is actually Flutterflow, but this one, the reason I bring this up is I'm pretty transparent. I'll talk about anything. I'm not going to just talk about Flutterflow if it doesn't fit. And so I love what you were saying, Erik. Adalo, we still use it a lot for our students and bring it up. And I know this is coming up. I know this is going to come up in the comments. So we're going to talk about it throughout this. I got a lot of messages over the weekend. Yes, we do know that Adalo changed their pricing. It changes pricing. That's reality. And so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Would love to know your response to that. I'll just tell you, we have a video coming out later this week talking about it, but I have no problems talking about it today. Do you want to tackle it, or do you want me to talk about it first? What would you like?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. I understand people are upset with this, or they feel like this is a major thing, but I'm really big about your app being sustainable financially. So I use Adalo as it being a mock-up or for you to validate, and you can still do that in the free tier. I understand that the implications of app actions does change the scalability of some apps, but the vast majority, I would say close to 98%, people haven't even found that market fit yet or the validation. And so I think people are panicking months ahead, and they're like, but I only have this many actions. But I'm like, you don't have any customers. You don't have anyone paying you. So I never promote apps being free and you making money off of ads or placements from different companies and partnerships. I just think that's a big ask of someone, or a company. So I would say the profitability of an app, it has to make sense. It has to make sense before you move forward. And so still use Adalo if you feel like the learning curve is too high for Flutterflow or Bubble, or it's going to take you 3 months to learn something. Like, just ship it over the weekend. Like you said, just ship it on Adalo. You'll get tons of feedback. And guess what? If you grow and you have to change platforms, that means you validated so much that now you're on the right track for having traction. That's how I feel.
We're 100% aligned. I think Adalo came out with a pretty fair pricing plan. I don't think anything in it is crazy. I think it all makes a lot of sense. What I would actually challenge people to understand is that if Adalo didn't do this, I don't think Adalo would be here in a year. So you can pick your poison. You can pay more money if you have a successful app and keep the platform around that you built your app on, or they're just not going to be successful and they'll fail. So, what are we looking for here, right? I want the platforms I use to charge a fair amount of money so that they can survive and be there and be profitable. Because the worst thing you can do is be building your business on an unprofitable platform, because one day when they're not there, you're really going to say to yourself, I wish I had paid more. And the second thing is build a real business. That's my challenge. If you're complaining that your business can't support $65 a month, I think that you have a fundamental issue with the business you are building. I'm not going to say that that's cheap for some people. I know there's people around the world, and I don't know how Adalo does this. I know Flutterflow does a great job of offering discounts by location. So I know if you are in certain parts of the world, you might be seeing 30, 50, 70% off that. I don't know if Adalo does that, but I think we have to be real with ourselves that $65 a month is a great deal to get a platform like that. And it's about monetization and building a real sustainable business for you and for Adalo.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And if people want to see more about this, we're going to be doing a challenge coming up in a week, how to validate your side hustle. It's actually going to be in 10 days. So it's the scalable option of 1 hour. This is just to see if your idea has traction, but we go step by step of deciding how you're going to be building a real business, testing if people are going to pay you, and then you go about building out your MVP, your minimal viable product, once you're talking to them. So we have the 3 steps to validate. Who are you helping? What does success look like? And then workflow of the validation. We have a workflow to make sure what questions you're asking, all of those things. And then we have the 7 steps to a profitable digital product, which is really that app of finding a customer, seeing if they're willing to pay, all of those things. There's
Mhm.
going to be a link down below. We're starting the challenge next week, so I love to hear what you're saying, and yeah, we definitely agree with that. What have you seen work? Like, say for instance, we've done this before. We talk about, you have the agency. Tell me about, is it, what do you see most people struggling with, maybe even coming to the agency? Is it the fear of being wrong or people not validating? Is it almost like having a pep talk for them to test out the business idea in the app? Or is it, yeah, tell me, is it more that style? Tell me, yeah, what do you see?
We see, there's a really wide range of clients out there and people building on these platforms. The biggest issue for the people that engage us is that almost none of them have any validation before they start. So I think there's a whole world of people that do it themselves, and we don't actually see those. So that's, we kind of see it from a peripheral, like they might be asking questions in the forum. Maybe we interact on a call or two, but we don't really see too much of what their approach is, et cetera. But very few clients come to us with a validated concept to begin with. It's very rare that they have already sold something or they already have customers lined up. The most common thing I think we hear is, when we launch, this is, people are just going to snatch this up and everyone wants this. And this is going to be this, and this, and we have 3,000 people interested. That's a stretch. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, if you get an app that has over 100 people on it, you're probably in the 1% of apps. It's a lot harder than people think, and so I think what you're doing with the challenge is 100% spot on. There's a lot of work that you can do before even creating an app to make sure that you're going in that right direction. And then after you get to that point of that validation, it's about getting it out there. And we have a hard time getting clients to launch apps even after it's completely developed. They keep saying, well, I think we need to tweak this before it goes live. I think we need to change this. And some of that's valid. I mean, you don't want an application that doesn't work or something that just blatantly doesn't make sense. But another thing that people should probably know is that when you put an app in the app store, that's like, tossing a rock into, the woods. Like, there's no one is going to find that. No one will find it until you tell them where it is. People don't just download random apps on the app store. It's very, very rare that you will even get a single random download if you're not actively promoting that application through social media, Reddit, forums, things like that. So there's a whole nother process after launching that's required to actually get users, get validation and feedback from a real product.
Yeah. I love it. I love to hear that. You mentioned maybe just like delaying or feeling like they need a different version. How do you work through that conversation? Do you push back or just say, hey, that's up to you? We'll check back in 30 days. Do you give them like, hey, just launch, like you said, in Reddit, or launch it to 5 people? How do you strategize to get them over that hump?
I think early in the relationship, and this is for us working with clients, but I think it's true even if you're just by yourself and you're working for yourself, is to have clear criteria about what you'd go live with, right? And once you check those boxes, then don't add more things to that. Once you've have some initial criteria, you've built that and it's ready to go. Do a round of beta testing. In the App Store, there's a program called Test Flight, or you can put it straight into the App Store. Again, nobody's going to find this, so I wouldn't even worry about going live. Get a few people on it, get feedback, make sure it works, and then launch, and then iterate it on it. We encourage clients that, hey, okay, what are the criteria that we need to deliver to go live? Okay, we've delivered that. Okay, did we test it? Okay, we've tested it. Okay, it's time to go live. And you know, a lot of people think that there's not a threat. They think it's lower risk to not go live because, okay, we have more time to work on it, we can perfect the product, etc. There's actually a higher risk to not going live than going live. if you do not validate your business and you do not get revenue, you don't have a business. Let's be honest, it's not a business. That's a hobby. And in a hobby, it's just an idea, and there's no way that you're going to support this in 6 months if you're still not getting any revenue. You're just wasting your time. So we, obviously we get paid from fees from clients. Clients that don't earn revenue aren't going to be long-term clients, but it's true for yourself too. If you're spending nights and weekends working on something for 6 months without revenue, what's the probability that that's going to be successful versus somebody who ships something in a weekend and all of a sudden has 20 MRR, 100 MRR, even a small amount? They are more likely to be successful than you spending 6 months working on it. So we really try and point out these factors to clients, and I'll tell you, the longer somebody takes the launch has no bearing on success at all. From all of our clients, our most successful client, we launched their Adalo app in 1 month, and they raised $23 million, and they introduced President Biden yesterday at the White House. So that was an Adalo app that we built in 4 weeks. And now they're on Flutterflow. So that's perfect for this because we're hitting all of the platforms all at once.
I love
And
it.
we've worked with people for 9 months to a year that still don't have an app on the App Store by choice.
Love it. Love it. This is a great transition. And I just love to hear all of this stuff. So in the comment section, let us know, where are you at? Are you thinking about doing this as a side hustle? You're thinking about launching, you're on the fence. And also I wanted to mention this to you too, as you were saying this, there might be a small group set that will be like, well, I'm just launching it for myself. But I love what you said, Erik. Even for yourself, if you're getting some kind of traction, it motivates you to just go forward. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so it's $1, whatever. Put some kind
Yep.
of price to say to them or to your audience, what is it worth? Even if you haven't launched, ask them to do a pre-launch where they're already committing to pay when it
Mm-hmm.
launches. Then you still know that they're serious. Tons of people are very well-meaning, but they'll be like, "I'll pay when it's done," and you come back 3 months later, and they'll have another excuse.
Yeah.
And then you wasted 3 months because you were waiting for that one person to say yes, where you could have just launched and see, hey, if it works, it works. If not, no worries about it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
1 second, I want to mention too, like you were saying, just launching. Our most successful products have just pretty much been on Notion. like Usually we do a lot of mock-ups, or we
Mm-hmm.
where's our clarity one? Hold on 1 second. We had a product that, well, DocStocks, which is knowledge as a service, it's just getting access to all of our notes, and it's a Notion doc. We used to think it was like, we've launched it with Odium, we've launched it as so many different other entities, and people just will
Yeah.
buy a Notion doc. It might be that simple as just a Notion doc that you can test, and then
Mm-hmm.
more things, because you can have a simple database on this. You can
Yeah.
add something.
Mm-hmm.
That might be something you just iterate later on when you go to Adalo or Flutter Flow, but just get started. Oh, one last thing. I had to ask you this, Erik. Have you checked out Draft Page? Have you seen them or anything like this?
I haven't seen it. This is a cool new one.
It's I feel like, I was like you were saying, WordPress. I was getting really burned out just building WordPress sites, and it just wasn't fun. This one, it's not. They're going to integrate later on with Notion and a couple other things. It's just fun. I feel like I just got it's just fun. So I've been building just landing pages a lot on it, and it's been converting really high. It, I think if you just put it out there, people
Yeah.
will just see it. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it's I think you can do almost anything with it. It's free, and then it goes up. But I'm like, again, not sponsored by them. Just
Give it a try.
love what it is. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. This is perfect transition. You were talking about one of your most successful client, raising money with $1 and then shifting over when it was appropriate to Flutter Flow. Talk about a little bit that inflection point of why either that client or just in general, what do you see the point of when people are needing to switch over to Flutter Flow? What kind of apps are they? What kind of functionality are they looking for?
Yeah. I mean, when we talk about applications, I think that there's kind of, three, and there's really more than this, but at least three categories. And the first one is that kind of purely informational, basic workflow interaction app, and that's something that Adalo is really, really good at. It's something Glide Apps is really good at, where you have a database, you're showing information, retrieving information, updating it. It's your standard CRUD database, great for users. The pro of Adalo is that you can put it in the app stores, but when you get past that into more complex functionality, especially with backend logic, Adalo, you can hack it together with Integromat and Zapier and everything else. Parabola, now Make, you can put together all of these scenarios, but at some point you just have to ask yourself, maybe we should actually use a little bit of code here, and that's when you get into wanting to use some cloud functions. That's when we decided we had to make the transition off of Adalo onto a platform that could grow and scale with the business for the future. And there's even a third category of apps that have real custom animations, things like more like your TikToks, video games. You kind of know what the apps are when you start building that have really unique screens, and that's just when you have to just do full custom code to begin with, because it's really not worth it to even try and do it in no code or low code. So I think the triggers for us were really when we saw the need for more complex back-end logic, to keep the business alive and keep everything up to date, because we weren't able to do it with the Adalo backend.
Yeah, yeah. So from what I'm hearing, I think I'm hearing it really depends on what kind of app it is, and if
Yeah,
it's more based on logic and there's so many things going on, that's when it's time to look at other options.
yeah. And I would say the amount of time, there are certain apps that where you will have to start on Flutterflow or something else. There are certain things that you're just not going to get in Adalo, that on day one, don't do it. Do it the right way. Go to Flutterflow, or even maybe Draft It. But for us, it's always Flutterflow these days, and just start there. But if you can do it on Adalo, that's where I'd recommend starting. And I think that you will stay there much longer than you think. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing.
I love it. I love it. There's let me ask you, you mentioned TikTok, and there's a lot of people. Let's talk about like the upper bounds, right? Because there's got
Yeah.
to be a limit. So some people might come back and they might say, "Hey, Erik, I want to create the next TikTok. I want to create the next Snapchat or the next Netflix." Is that possible? Like, what does the upper bound look like right now, for thinking about like the idea? What do you see?
I think those media ones are really hard. It's always about what you're really trying to do, but like hosting videos and complex interactions, I think that those are really hard. And a lot of, one of the things that people don't see is you see those screens, but you don't see the logic behind it. That, like, to run TikTok, they're tracking exactly how long you stay on every single video, and they have their own AI that categorizes videos, that's trying to feed you new videos that you're going to like based off the previous ones. The logic on the back end of that is incredibly complex, and they're spending $100 million a year at least trying to improve this AI algorithm. That's something where you're getting into very complex code. So even if you could do it on the front end, the real worry about those is back end, is back end logic and complexity. If you're doing like an Uber, a DoorDash delivery, whether it's food or ride sharing, um, for the most part, you can start most of those with Adalo, or you can do it in Flutterflow. So, the application that we moved from Adalo to Flutterflow is on-demand electric vehicle charging. The app's called Currently. It's in both app stores. It's by a company called Spark Charge. Um, we use quite a bit of back-end functions to manage capacity and availability of charging electric vehicles. So Previously, we had a simple way to do that. That worked great on Adalo's CRUD database. As that business grew and scaled and got more complex, that's when we went and moved it over to Firebase and built all the cloud functions around that. I think for any idea that you have, you can probably come up with the easy version of it. You can also come up with the hard version of it. And you don't need to start with the hard version. Validate it with the easy version, get traction, and then scale. And I think look at any business that started in the past and how they did that. Uber was originally like a manual text messaging system. There wasn't an app. It was SMS. Airbnb was like a simple website that, with a booking form. Today, I think that we look at these tech companies that have, $100 million budget, annual tech budgets of spending and say, oh, this is what my app needs. Maybe if you have $100 million worth of tech spend, but if you don't, maybe we need to come back to reality and find a better way and less expensive way to do it.
I love it. Yeah, I totally agree. And again, for anyone that's watching, this isn't to destroy your dream. This is just asking the hard questions to get you moving, to get you moving.
Mm-hmm.
I would like $100 million too. I'd love to do that. But the reality is most likely I won't have that to get started. So what can you be doing to validate, to get started, to get that traction? I love it. I have a couple, this came in from Twitter. People are asking a couple things, and this is putting you on the spot. So if you're like, no big deal, you can veto this. Some people are asking, I've got to find the other one. They're saying, what about using API-based platforms like daily.co or like, I think it's Plaid? It's they're saying, how easy is that to actually use that in their app? So I think they're saying, like, is it possible using things like this, already having the APIs built out, and then they're just pulling those functionalities into something like Flutter Flow? Have you seen this done? Have you done it?
Yeah, it depends on your own development skill. I think if you have a development background, this is gonna be really easy. If you don't, good luck. You probably need to, if you're not a developer, I think that you need to start looking at what integrations you need and then see what platforms have those. So for instance, I know that Adalo has like some live voice chat integration. I know that Flutterflow is working on it. I don't know how to say this. MUX, M-U-X integration, and that'll be for live streaming. That's where you need to go. And then you can also look at hiring an expert to build a specific integration if you need it. We did an integration with Plaid for one of our applications. That's one we built ourselves. It's quite complex. And to be honest, it's not always just about the integration. So it's also things like, what are you doing with that data? So we built an entire integration with Plaid that pulls in all your bank account transactions. That can be 50,000 transactions. What are you doing with that? That's where it gets complex. It's not the connection itself is the easy part. It's the logic behind it that really gets crazy, and that's where if you want to use Plaid, you have to have some development skill. You have to know Node.js. I don't think that there's any way around that.
Yeah, and along with that, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think there's sometimes too. I'm a big fan of just getting a team, or what you don't know. Look at the time and opportunity cost. Like, you can learn this if this is something that you want to build in your like toolkit and something that you can be doing. That's a great thing. But also maybe speeding it up, you might need to have a dev to do those kind of integrations. And I think it's really important, even if you don't do it, understand the concepts to talk to developer, because sometimes it's like talking in a different language. Like you said, it's more than just integrations. Knowing what you're asking for. Sometimes I remember the first time I was building, and I think this was like Buildfire. This is probably like 2012, something like that.
That's OG.
Yeah. Yep. And I was talking to the person. I was like, is there a way to have like some kind of back door where I can hook wires in. He's like, you're talking about an open API. Like, I didn't know the terms. And,
Yep.
and sometimes developers, I don't want to classify it. It's like if you've been a developer for 20 years, it's very hard to go back to the beginning and talking to people that have no
Yep.
idea. So having concepts, we have this as a free resource. It's just called the APIs for Complete Beginners. It's all of those things where understanding very in basic ways what APIs are, just getting started. So when you talk to a developer, it's not going to make you an expert, but you can have a vocabulary or explain what you want them to do and then decide, is it worth it at the time? Maybe you're just not ready. Maybe it's not worth it to get started, to integrate or do something like that. So that's awesome. And I'm glad that you've had that experience to be able to bring that into that. That's perfect. One more question before we go into one last round. Someone's asking, what about, can I use Figma with Flutterflow? We talked about this the other week too. Tell me a little bit about Figma. Does it have a direct integration? Do you use it just for planning? Could you talk about your experience?
There's no direct integration today. And to be honest, I would expect there probably won't ever be, to just be blatantly honest. I would still recommend mocking everything up in Figma before, or whatever you use. It does not need to be Figma. I know there's tons of hype around Figma. If you're not familiar with Figma, maybe don't even start with Figma. There's easier things out there. I'm not going to lie to you. Yep. You can use PowerPoint. You can use Paint if you want. You can whatever. There's no right tool for mockups, and a lot of people use Whimsical. I now am in a position, or previously when we were only on Adalo, we were in a position where we would never mock anything up almost, like maybe a few screens if we had questions about something, but we did everything live in Adalo, and we would just build new screens and we could change things really quickly. Now that we're running really complex applications that have hundreds of screens that have different states across all of the screens, we try and keep a live version of every app in Figma, which basically means that if we're going to make a change to any page, we make the change in Figma, then we make the change in Flutterflow, so that those two are always in sync. That makes it way easier, so that when we're trying to understand how things work in the app, or like flows for users, etc., we really are just going through the Figma. It doesn't make sense to. It's really hard to maintain that flow and logic when you're looking at it in Flutterflow. So I think it's a great tool. It's useful. It's not directly integrated.
Yeah. Great. I love it. I love the overview. And again, there's pros and cons using it, but I love how you mentioned that. To add one more, personally, I like Sketch. I gotta see if I was trying to check, is it Mac only? I gotta check. But I feel like, the reason I started with it's been around for a couple of years. And it was back, I remember when Supernova was trying to compete with them, but now Supernova has kind of changed in a different way. I just say, like, whatever tool you like I love how you just said, like, use PowerPoint. Just use something that you're familiar with and you can get your point across and understand, like, what's happening. I think that's really important. If I'm trying to design screens, I usually use Sketch. And then if I'm trying to, like, sometimes I find that a lot of students, they have trouble expressing, or they get too in the weeds when they have too much design. I just use something like Market Plan. I know a lot of people use this mainly for, they use it for marketing funnels. But what I like about it is it's just very basic, and it's like bird's eye view that you can just map out pages of the app and then just map out what you're trying to do versus trying to design every screen.
Yeah.
So I love it. So I put in I put in Figma in the comment section down below, everybody. You can check that out. Sketch, do something. Now we have a few comments before we go in this last portion. And thank you so much for your time, Erik. You've been awesome, man.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Let's see what we got. We got some questions. It mentions, and thank you so much. And I believe Hens, I'm butchering names today. I apologize. But this is a super interesting chat. I was considering doing a no-code app before getting into real coding, thinking I was among the elite. I couldn't have been more wrong. Okay. Thank you so much for the comments.
Hot
And then
take. I like it.
yeah, and I've got another one. He said, having coded firsthand and seen how long building even a production feature can take compared to hearing how Flywheel Studios did a whole app. This actually got that actually got investment in a month is insane. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's awesome. And we're going to be also for Flywheel Studio. You're going to be seeing a link down below if you want to talk to them, interact, and follow up with Erik, and you have an idea and you think it would be a good fit. Remember, you can reach out to Erik. Erik, real quick, I think this is perfect. Tell me who your ideal client would be for Flywheel Studios. Could you go into that a little bit?
Yep. Um, Normally, we like to start with somebody who has a pretty clear action plan. We don't need this. We don't need a lot of information to get started. We bill ourselves as really a full service studio, so we try and help clients with design, with writing requirements, with kind of coming up with a distribution strategy. All of that we help with, but we need a really clear action plan in terms of this is the business I want to build, this is my time frame, this is what I am doing for the business, this is what I need your help doing for this. um, Typically the clients that we work best with are going to be existing businesses that are now looking for a mobile application or a new application, or they have some level of funding, whether it's personal or raised external capital. It doesn't matter. I will be very upfront. We are definitely not the cheapest studio. I believe that, I guess, just as a side note piece of budget, if you are on a very tight budget, learn to do it yourself. You will not only save yourself time, you will have a better product in the end for it. I truly believe that. You should only be hiring a studio, an agency, a freelancer if you have the money to actually do it and you are focused solely on something else that you cannot be doing development. And usually that should be sales. Especially for an early stage venture or startup. We're industry agnostic. We've done, health and fitness, construction, real estate, delivery, EV charging. We worked across a wide variety of clients, so not really any preferences there. We've worked across almost all the countries in the world. I think the only requirement is, for the most part, it's better if we're operating in English. We can do some other languages too, but English is best for us. Other than that, reach out to us even if you have questions, you're not interested in working together. If there's something I can help answer, open door. Feel free to send us a message, and we'll help you out however we can, whether it's Adalo, Flutterflow, another platform, whether it's a business question, etc. Happy to help.
Love it, love it, love it. And this is, as you can see, guys, we just love bringing on the best, talking to great people, and that's why we invited Erik. I you're just doing a great job, very insightful, and there's just so much that you're contributing to the community. And if it makes sense to work with you, you're there, and you can
Yep.
answer questions. I love it. So remember, Flywheel, we already put the link down below. It's going to be in the description. If you're watching this on replay, no stress. All of those things are going to be added. Marcus is talking about, will this be saved for a replay? Yes, indeed. So after it goes live, it will already become a replay. You can just watch it. There's a lot of good insight in this one. I'm not just saying that. I think this is really going to be helpful for ones. Just rapid fire, just at the end. Because we're coming to a close. Remember, if you didn't get your question answered, put it in the comment section. We'll go back. We'll look at it. Erik, either I'll contact Erik or I'll make sure that you can reach out to Erik if you have more questions. Remember, comment section down below. But as we're wrapping up, Erik, is there anything that we didn't touch upon that you're like, this is something I wish I knew when I started? Anything you want to reflect on or bring up?
I wish I knew that it's not as serious as you think it is. This is all just for fun, right? Even business should be fun, and I think people really get caught up in how serious it is that you're building a startup or something. But until you have 1,000 daily active users or something. It's really just for fun. Build a product, get it out there, enjoy the process, enjoy the learning.
Love it. I love it. That's great insight. Just enjoy it. I love hearing that. So, and along with that, we like to have fun here. We like to make sure that we're having fun with the audience. Remember, for our brand new challenge next month, we have a brand new landing page built by Draft Page, but it's just teaching you how to make money online. It's finally launch your profitable idea. In this case, if you're thinking about launching an app, you've been thinking about it, you've been on the fence all this time, we're going to be doing this. In 10 days, you're going to be learning how to get unstuck and launch that idea. We're going to walk you through it. You're going to have other people in the community with you on the challenge. We already have a step-by-step plan. So remember, there's going to be a link down below to enter the free challenge. It's to get you started on your journey of building with whatever platform. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can start with Notion. It's just getting you to launch, getting you launching and to validate your idea. So there's going to be a link down below to get started. It's going to start on the 15th of this month, so next week. And remember, if you're on the newsletter, if you're on the mailing list, you're going to see this. If you're watching it live, there's a link down below. Join the challenge, and we're going to go from there. Erik, where can people find you? What's the best platform that you like people to contact you?
Yeah, Twitter's good. Let me get my Twitter handle here.
Yeah.
Twitter is probably one of the ones I am the fastest response time on. On our Flywheel website, you can contact me there. There's email there. There's a contact form, a link to our YouTube if you're interested in watching any of that content. Let me just post my profile link in here.
Yeah. And we'll add it too. We'll add it if you're watching our replay. So no worries, guys. If you don't see it, it will be in the description. It'll be in the description.
Oh, I'm not sure I can add a comment here.
No worries. If you put it in private chat or you just tell me, I can look for it on Twitter real quick. Whatever.
There you go. That's probably the easiest place. Email's great too, Erik@flywheel.so. You can leave comments on YouTube videos. I respond to all of them personally. So if there's something on there that catches your eye, feel free to leave a comment on that specific video. And again, happy to help for anything here.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for your time. We'll get off the line, but please stay. But Erik, thank you so much for your time. We can't wait to see your next project, who you're working with next. And again, we can't wait to see all the things that you're doing with Flutterflow in the future and Adalo and all these other platforms. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, Doc.
Everyone that's in the chat, remember, make sure that you follow Erik. You give him a shout out. Tell him how much that you learned today. There was a lot of knowledge bomb. We really do appreciate Erik and his time. And remember, keep building, keep working hard on your idea, and we'll see all of you soon. Good night, everybody.